Lord, have mercy upon us. Our Father, which art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, the power, and the glory, forever and ever. Amen. Almighty God, who in thy wisdom and goodness hast appointed the office of rulers and parliaments for the welfare of society and the just government of men and women, we beseech thee to behold with thy abundant favor us thy servants, whom thou hast been pleased to call to the performance of important trusts in these islands. Let thy blessing descend upon us here assembled, and grant that we may treat and consider all matters that shall come under our deliberation in so just and faithful a manner as to promote thy honor and glory, and to advance the peace, prosperity, and welfare of these islands, and those whose interests thou hast committed to our charge. And this we beg for Jesus Christ's sake. Amen. May the grace of our Lord Jesus Christ, and the love of God, and the fellowship of the Holy Spirit be with us all, evermore. Amen.
Good morning, members. The House is now in session. Clark, you ready? Okay. Ready? Members, the minutes of the 21st of March's sitting have been circulated. Are there any amendments required? There are none. The minutes will be confirmed as printed. Messages from the governor. There are none. Announcements by the speaker. I do have an announcement this morning. Honorable members, I have appointed the parliamentary standing and seasonal committees for this session of the House, which will be up on the SharePoint for you to be able to see, and for the public website, on the parliamentary website for everyone to view. Members, to ensure that the parliamentary committees are vested with the full authority and powers of the House of Assembly, and without objection, I want to certify that these committees will be able to conduct their proceedings pursuant to the provisions of Part 4 of the Parliamentary Act 1957. Thank you, members. The next item on the order paper this morning, messages from the Senate. There are none. Papers and other communications. Yes, we have papers this morning to be presented. The first is in the name of the Premier. Premier?
Good morning, Mr. Speaker.
Good morning.
Mr. Speaker, I have the honor to attach and submit for the information of the Honorable House Assembly the Information Commissioner's 2024 Annual Report as required by Section 58(1) of the Public Access to Information Act 2010.
Thank you. Would you like to continue with the other two?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I have the honor to attach and submit for the information of the Honorable House Assembly the audited financial statements for the year ended 31st of March 2023 and the audited financial statements for the year ended 31st of March 2024 for the Office of the Information Commissioner.
Thank you. Minister, the next paper, Minister for Youth, Social Development, Seniors. Is someone going to do it on? Okay, Premier.
Mr. Speaker, on behalf of the Minister of Youth, Social Development, and Seniors, I have the honor to attach and submit for the information of the Honorable House Assembly the Financial Assistance Amendment Regulations 2024 as made by the Minister responsible for financial assistance and exercise the power conferred by Section 21 of the Financial Assistance Act 2001.
Thank you. Next item on the order paper is petitions. There are none. Statements by ministers and junior ministers. We have 9 statements this morning. The first is in the name of the Premier, Minister of Finance. Premier.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you. Yeah.
Mr. Speaker, honorable members will recall that on the 10th of December 2021, a motion was introduced in this honorable House by which honorable members were invited to consider the report of the Commission of Inquiry into Historic Land Losses. Honorable members will also recall that the motion remained on the order paper pending the disposition of various matters before the courts and was ultimately withdrawn as matters remained sub judice over an extended period. I'm advised by counsel that those matters have been substantially disposed of, and as such, I'm pleased today to renew this motion before this Honorable House. Honorable members will recall that it was our late colleague, the Honorable Walton Brown, who led the effort to establish such a commission. And as such, in July 2014, this Honorable House approved a motion in his name calling for the establishment of a commission of inquiry. With the then governor's refusal to act on the expressed will of this Honorable House, it fell to this government to do so. And so, the Commission of Inquiry was established in 2019 pursuant to Section 1A of the Commission's Inquiry Act 1935. Mr. Speaker, the work of the Commission was extensive and included written submissions and oral evidence from affected persons, conducting 74 hearings across the island. Mr. Speaker, honorable members will recall the report makes several recommendations, and the government remains committed to examining them and determine what can be done to address the issues identified. Mr. Speaker, this effort has taken longer than expected, but our commitment remains unaltered. With your permission, Mr. Speaker, I will reiterate that which I shared with this Honorable House in 2019 and again in 2021, and I quote, "Truth can be uncomfortable. Unearthing historic wrongs may be inconvenient for some. It may well be that some of those who are victims and those who committed wrongdoings have since passed on. But it is never too late for justice. That justice can take many forms. For some, it may simply be the opportunity to be heard and have their claims acknowledged, while for others, it may confirm the legal standing they have long asserted. The process of providing justice starts with a step towards truth," end quote. Mr. Speaker, with this tabling of this motion afresh today, I look forward to leading this long outstanding debate on the issues that are critical to the full understanding of our history and to providing an opportunity for often silenced voices to be heard. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Premier. The next statement this morning is in the name of the Minister of National Security. Minister?
Good morning, Mr. Speaker.
Morning, good morning.
Good morning, colleagues, and to the listening public. Mr. Speaker, I rise today to update this Honorable House and the public on the progress of the island's closed circuit television, or CCTV, network upgrade and the implementation of the Speed Camera Initiative. Mr. Speaker, honorable members may recall that in 2023, Digicel Bermuda was awarded the contract to upgrade the CCTV network and provide a managed maintenance service plan. The total contract value is $4,047,440, comprising an equipment and installation cost of $1,035,500 and a 5-year managed maintenance services plan valued at $602,388 annually, totaling $3,011,940. One of the key enhancements to the CCTV network is its deployment on a new fiber network. This modernization required civil and road and electrical works that were not included in the original request for proposal, since vendors could not accurately quantify these costs in advance. As a result, the current cost for all civil and electrical works associated with the project stands at $463,651. Mr. Speaker, the Ministry's CCTV implementation team has made every effort to minimize costs by collaborating with the Corporation of Hamilton, the Ministry of Public Works and Engineering Unit, and BELCO to utilize existing power sources. While some cost savings measures were successful, others proved unfeasible. Mr. Speaker, the upgraded system includes 258 cameras featuring 4 different types: 19 license plate recognition cameras, 103 pan tilt zoom cameras, 74 multi-sensory cameras, and 62 varifocal cameras. Notably, a single multi-sensory camera integrates 4 fully functional cameras, covering a wider area while maintaining clarity. Real-time monitoring has significantly enhanced the Bermuda Police Service's ability to assess incidents as they unfold, enabling quicker deployment of resources during emergencies. This capability has already proven crucial in improving response times and overall public safety. Mr. Speaker, as of today, 219 cameras have been installed, with 204 currently online across 129 site locations, providing 454 distinct camera views. The project commenced in September 2023, but encountered unforeseen challenges that have affected the completion timeline. Despite these setbacks, the overall project is now 90% complete, encompassing camera installation, software integration, and training. Barring any major weather delays or unforeseen events, the project is expected to be completed by July of 2025. Mr. Speaker, an additional 34 camera site locations are being prepared for the final phase of civil and electrical work. This expansion will increase the total number of CCTV locations from 130 to 150 across the island. We consider this to be an enormous achievement in terms of coverage across the island. Mr. Speaker, beyond physical installation, this project involves critical components such as network infrastructure, power integration, and seamless connectivity to the Central Command Center to ensure the system operates at peak effectiveness. Moreover, multiple government departments and external agencies have played vital roles in this initiative, including the Ministry of National Security Headquarters, the Bermuda Police Service, the Ministry of Public Works, the Department of Estates and Highways, the Department of Planning, and the Information Technology Department, along with external partners such as Balco and the corporations of St. George's and Hamilton. Mr. Speaker, while progress has been made, delays have inevitably impacted the next phase of the CCTV upgrade, the introduction of speed cameras. However, initial testing of the license plate recognition cameras has begun and will continue over the next few months. I recently had the opportunity to review preliminary findings and to see a demonstration of the LPR cameras, and I was very impressed with how the system has advanced. This is wonderful progress, and I look forward to further developments in this area over the next year. Based on initial research and testing, additional license plate recognition cameras and site locations will be required to optimize the speed camera initiative. A comprehensive plan is currently being developed to expand this initiative. Mr. Speaker, in the coming months, the Ministry of National Security and the Bermuda Police Service will work closely with the Ministry of Transport and the Ministry of Justice on legislative amendments necessary for implementing the ticketing system for speed cameras. This will be the final step in the implementation of a system that we are confident will improve the safety on our roads. Mr. Speaker, it is important to note that the upgraded CCTV system has been designed with privacy protection in mind. The system aligns with both current privacy regulations and future requirements, ensuring that privacy concerns are adequately addressed. The request for proposal specifically required vendors to incorporate privacy safeguards in both the camera features and the video management system, or VMS. Mr. Speaker, residents have expressed a greater sense of security knowing that CCTV coverage has been enhanced. This increased confidence has encouraged more community engagement, with citizens more willing to report suspicious activity to the Bermuda Police Service. We have even received requests from community clubs and neighborhoods to further expand CCTV coverage. To further address privacy concerns, the Ministry and the Bermuda Police Service have engaged the Petty and Piper Unit and the Privacy Commissioner's Office in discussions on collaboration, transparency, and public communication regarding CCTV privacy matters. Mr. Speaker, as we approach the completion of this initiative, the Ministry, in partnership with the Bermuda Police Service and the Privacy Commissioner's Office, will host a town hall to educate the public on privacy considerations and best practices related to CCTV cameras. Also, this town hall will address any privacy concerns that the public may have. I am pleased to report that the Ministry of National Security and the Bermuda Police Service have worked diligently with internal and external stakeholders to implement this critical project. Mr. Speaker, I extend my gratitude to the multiple teams who have contributed to the successful execution of the CCTV initiative thus far. We are delivering on our promise to upgrade the island CCTV network and introduce a modern speed control regime on our roads. As I have stated before, this government remains committed to enhancing public safety, and this initiative is a testament to our mission at the Ministry of National Security of working together to keep you safe. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Minister. Members, the next statement this morning is in the name of the Minister of Health. Minister Wilson? Good morning.
Excuse me. Good morning. Mr. Speaker, I rise today to address a critical issue that continues to impact the health and well-being of our people, namely the rising burden of non-communicable diseases, or NCDs, such as heart disease, diabetes, cancer, and respiratory illnesses. These diseases account for the majority of deaths and healthcare costs in Bermuda, yet many of them are preventable by addressing key risk factors. Mr. Speaker, reducing the prevalence of NCDs requires a comprehensive and sustained approach focused on prevention, early intervention, and policy measures that create an environment where healthy choices are the easiest choices. It is worth emphasizing that our government remains committed to tackling the key risk factors that contribute to these diseases, including unhealthy diets, physical inactivity, and tobacco use. Promoting healthy nutrition. Mr. Speaker, unhealthy diets, particularly those high in sugar, salt, and trans fats, contribute significantly to obesity, diabetes, and cardiovascular diseases. As part of our ongoing efforts, the government will introduce legislation during this session aimed at banning industrially produced trans fats in food products to promote healthier diets and reduce the risk associated with heart disease, stroke, and diabetes. Trans fats, which are often found in processed and fried foods, pose significant health risks whilst offering no health benefits. High consumption of trans fats significantly increases health risk, raising the likelihood of death from any cause by 34%, coronary heart disease deaths by 28%, and coronary heart disease overall by 21%. The Grow, Eat, Save program. Mr. Speaker, we continue to promote local and healthy food options through Grow, Eat, Save program, the government initiative aimed at promoting food sustainability, healthier eating, and community engagement in agriculture. This program encourages residents to grow their own fruits and vegetables, reducing reliance on imported foods while fostering a greater appreciation for nutrition and self-sufficiency. The key goals, Mr. Speaker, of the Grow, Eat, Save program include: 1, empowering residents, teaching Bermudians how to grow their own food through workshops and hands-on training. 2, promoting healthier eating, encouraging the consumption of fresh, locally grown produce to combat diet-related NCDs like diabetes and obesity. 3, reducing food costs, helping families to save more money by growing their own fruits and vegetables rather than relying on the expensive imported goods. And 4, strengthening food security by enhancing Bermuda's ability to produce its own food and become less dependent on external food sources. Mr. Speaker, Bermuda imports the majority of its food, which can be expensive and subject to global supply chain disruptions. Encouraging home and community gardening through the Grow, Eat, Save program helps to reduce food costs, improves nutrition, and strengthens locals' resilience against external economic pressures. Bermuda Healthy School Lunch Competition. Mr. Speaker, another exciting initiative I would like to highlight is the Bermuda Healthy School Lunch Competition, which is aimed at promoting healthy eating habits amongst our students whilst encouraging creativity in preparing nutritious meals. The competition, launched as part of the government's broader efforts to combat child obesity and NCDs, challenges students, parents, and schools to develop balanced, delicious, and affordable school lunches that meet national nutrition guidelines. Mr. Speaker, this initiative not only fosters better eating habits, but also raises awareness about the link between nutrition, academic performance, and long-term health. By making healthy eating fun and engaging, Bermuda is taking proactive steps to shape a healthier future for the next generation. Encouraging physical activity. Mr. Speaker, a sedentary lifestyle is a major risk factor for NCDs, and we must do more to integrate physical activity into daily life. To achieve this, the government has implemented several initiatives to promote physical activity and healthier lifestyles, recognizing its crucial role in preventing NCDs such as obesity, diabetes, and heart disease. These efforts include investment in public fitness infrastructure, policy initiatives, and community programs. Mr. Speaker, outdoor gym equipment in parks, that's number one. The government has installed outdoor gym equipment in public parks and in recreational areas to provide free and accessible exercise options for residents of all ages. 2, tax concessions for gyms and fitness facilities. To support the fitness industry and encourage more people to join gyms, the government has provided tax concessions to help reduce operational costs for gym owners and fitness centers. This measure aims to make gym membership more affordable and accessible to a broader segment of the population. 3, community-based exercise and wellness programs. Programs like the Move More Bermuda and workplace wellness initiatives encourage the community to incorporate physical activity into their daily routines, promoting healthier lifestyles and combating sedentary behavior. A notable event under the initiative is the Move More Bermuda Senior Games, which is targeting individuals aged 50 and above. The 2024 Senior Games took place on the 19th of May at the Flora Duffy Stadium, offering participants a range of track and field events, including the 600-meter dash, the 3,000-meter run, long jump, shot put, and mixed 4x4 relay. This event emphasized friendly competition and community engagement, aligning with the broader goals of the Move More Bermuda campaign. Addressing tobacco and vaping use. Mr. Speaker, smoking and vaping remain major contributors to respiratory diseases, cancers, and cardiovascular issues. To combat this, the government will advance restrictions on flavored vaping products to protect public health, especially among young people. Flavored vaping products often come in sweet, candy-like, or fruity flavors that appeal to younger demographics, making them more likely to experiment with vaping. And this, of course, can lead to nicotine addiction at an early age, exposing them to long-term health risks and potentially acting as a gateway to traditional nicotine and tobacco products. Mr. Speaker, by limiting access to such products, we aim to reduce the appeal of vaping for young people, curb the rising rates of nicotine dependence, and prevent related health issues. Furthermore, Mr. Speaker, these restrictions send a broader public health message emphasizing the importance of safeguarding future generations from the harmful effects of addictive substances. Mr. Speaker, prevention is undeniably the most cost-effective strategy to reduce the burden of NCDs and secure a healthier future for Bermuda. However, we cannot do this alone. It requires a whole-of-government and whole-of-society approach, one where individuals, businesses, and community organizations work together to foster a culture of health and wellness. The government remains firmly committed to implementing evidence-based policies and initiatives to combat non-communicable diseases. By prioritizing prevention, education, and healthier environments, we will improve the quality of life for all Bermudians while also reducing the financial strain on our healthcare system. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Minister. Members, the next statement this morning is in the name of the Minister of Youth, Social Development, and Seniors. Minister.
Good morning, Mr. Speaker.
Good morning.
Mr. Speaker, this morning I rise to share with my honorable colleagues observations, findings, and data stemming from the operation of the Dementia Care Services Pilot Program, which was first launched by the Ministry of Youth, Social Development, and Seniors in October 2020 2023 through its Office of Aging and Disability Services. The purpose of this program is to ensure those persons living with dementia who are uninsured or underinsured have access to dementia navigation and support services. Mr. Speaker, as a backdrop for my honorable colleagues, some of whom are new to the House, dementia is an umbrella term for degenerative diseases that impact the brain. This results in memory loss and changes to one's behavior and one's thinking, which impacts our ability to perform everyday activities. According to the World Health Organization, global numbers for dementia are expected to triple by 2050. Due to aging populations and chronic diseases that are risk factors for this disease, it is estimated that up to 45% of dementia cases could be reduced through addressing multiple risk factors for dementia. Prevention is always preferable. However, for people who already live with the disease, we must support not only them, but also their carers through its challenging progression. Mr. Speaker, in Bermuda, based on current processes, there are over 3,600 patients inputted into the Bermuda Hospital Board system having dementia. Work continues to better define prevalence data and the potential future impact on the Bermuda system. However, to date, as dementia is a progressive disease, people's needs for care and support increase, placing greater demand on our long-term care services and support over time. A lack of knowledge of the disease and support for those caring for persons with dementia can result in unnecessary and costly hospital admissions or home care placement. It also increases the risk for abuse and neglect, as cognitive impairment is a significant risk for such a factor. Mr. Speaker, it is within the context that the government is committed to addressing the social, clinical, and economic challenges of dementia. As such, the Ministry of Youth, Social Development, and Seniors has undertaken the following related initiatives. In 2022, provided several education series on dementia. In October of 2023, introduced the Dementia Navigation and Care Pilot Program. In June of 2024, extended the pilot program based on the data obtained. In November 2024, developed a detailed project inception plan for the design of a Seniors Day facility with a dementia care focus. In December of 2024, completed the first national senior strategy for Bermuda, inclusive of a focus on dementia. In January 2025, contracted the expertise of the Bermuda Health Council to commence developing an integrated care pathway for dementia. And in February of 2025, engaged in meetings to start assessing the designated site for the dementia-focused Senior Day facility. Mr. Speaker, of these initiatives, it is the pilot program I wish to provide an update on today. In a previous statement made on the floor of this honorable House, I shared that in October of 2023, North Star Dementia was contracted to provide a 6-month pilot program for dementia navigation and support services for persons experiencing dementia who were either uninsured or underinsured. These services included comprehensive dementia assessments, personalized care planning, cognitive compensatory strategies, case management, caregiver education and support, crisis intervention and prevention. This program was developed based on evidence-based research that recognizes the vital importance and role of dementia care management, not only to improve quality of life for persons with dementia, but also their carers, which in turn decreases more costly care caused by hospitalization or crisis management. North Star Dementia was selected not only because they specialize in this area, but also because of their service model, supplements the pilot program to expand its reach and depth of support. Mr. Speaker, between 2023 and December 24, the ministry provided a total of $96,000 to fund the program, which contributed to serving 111 persons, of which 111 persons with dementia, of which 58%, or roughly 63 clients, were female. 55%, or 61 clients, were between the ages of 75 and 84 years of age. 67 or 74 clients were Black Bermudian. For the caregivers who were clients and received services, 56% were the adult children of the client, 70% were female caregivers. There were a total of 260 client contacts during this period. The intensity and type of contact was tailored to the needs of the family and the stage of the dementia progression. Mr. Speaker, the question is, what have we learned to date about the need for dementia care service program? Based on a client feedback and data findings, the answer is in 3 key observations. 1, there is a funding gap for dementia navigation and support services. 2, persons are not getting formally diagnosed. And 3, caregivers are stressed and not getting enough support. Mr. Speaker, let me briefly speak to each of these 3 observations. 1, there is a funding gap for dementia navigation and support services. Nearly 95% of the clients in the pilot program were insured. However, 84% of all referrals could not contribute to the full cost inclusive of copay of the services. 2, persons are not formally getting diagnosed. At the start of the program, 46% of the clients stated they did not have a formal diagnosis. However, after participating in the pilot program, 77% had obtained a diagnosis. 3, caregivers are stressed and not getting enough support. At the start of the pilot program, 16% of the caregivers rated their stress levels as severe, and 52% said they were moderate. At the 12-month evaluation mark for those clients evaluated, 46% felt somewhat less stressed, 27% were significantly less stressed, 62% felt more knowledgeable about dementia. 77% were more confident in implementing care strategies for their loved one, and 73% were more aware of local resources available. Mr. Speaker, the pilot program highlighted to its clients the importance of being diagnosed to determine if one's experiencing dementia or not. This allows persons to prepare ahead and put their affairs in order, determine what supports will be needed, and get critical legal documents and financial resources in place. After starting the pilot, 65% of clients obtained a power of attorney, and 46% obtained an advance directive. Mr. Speaker, the pilot program outlined how persons can start interventions and finding support sooner rather than later. For example, there are available medications or programs that can help decrease the impact of cognitive decline early in dementia progression. Additionally, there are non-medical interventions to help manage behaviors or concerns that can reduce the need for costly hospital admission. Roughly 81% of clients in the pilot program had no hospital admission, and 46% had an increase in social support for their loved one. Mr. Speaker, it is important that family carers have the support they need to continue the care of their loved ones. Access to support groups, respite daycare, activity programs, and home care placement is needed. The pilot program demonstrated the critical role of system navigation and care management for family carers and persons living with dementia to provide support and guidance with direct care and available support services. This is evident by the 100% of clients evaluated stating the dementia care service pilot program should continue. Mr. Speaker, the pilot findings are only from a small sample of persons diagnosed with dementia. This is why our systematic work in collaboration with the Ministry of Health is critical for long-term solutions. Under the framework of the National Senior Strategy, the ministry contracted the Bermuda Health Council to develop an integrated care pathway for dementia in collaboration and alignment with the Ministry of Health's health system reform work and the Health Council's Dementia Health Needs Assessment. This initiative is underway and is mapping current patient journeys and identifying systems and service gaps and needs. A preferred care pathway will be established in consultation with stakeholders, and an action plan will be developed. This pathway will cover prevention to end of life, as the entire spectrum must be addressed to not only reduce the prevalence of dementia in Bermuda, but also its negative impact on those living with the disease, their support persons, and the sustainability of our health and long-term care systems. Fundamental to this work is establishing a standardized formal diagnosis process to ensure we obtain the most accurate data as possible on dementia and its varying types. Mr. Speaker, in closing, I acknowledge and thank all of those persons living with dementia, their carers, and the service providers who have shared and continue to share their experiences, knowledge, expertise, and very limited time as part of this pilot program work for improving Bermuda's dementia care system for current and future generations. We look forward to updating this Honorable House and the community on the continuing progress of these initiatives. During the interim, I encourage our community to increase their awareness of dementia prevention and how to lend support to persons and carers, as well as the organizations in place that support persons living with dementia and their families. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Minister. Minister, would you like to proceed with your next statement?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Go right ahead.
Mr. Speaker, this morning I rise before this Honorable House to lay for information the Financial Assistance Amendment Regulations 2024. The amendment to the Financial Assistance Regulations 2004 added an expenditure line item for a 100 personal care allowance in the table of allowable expenses. Mr. Speaker, I remind members of this House of the significant investment that was made for the provision of expanded social services for the 2024-25 financial year as part of government's mid-year review in September 2024. This included funding for a monthly personal care allowance for financial assistance clients in rest and nursing homes. Mr. Speaker, many financial assistance clients who reside in rest and nursing homes, including those without critical family support, already have the high expense of rest and nursing home fees ranging from $5,000 to $12,000 a month and cannot afford the basic hygiene needs and purchase personal care products and services that you and I and my honorable colleagues in this House tend to take for granted. Several residents have expressed their concerns about this and having no money to purchase such items. Let me add, Mr. Speaker, administrators at the rest and nursing homes have shared that they do not have the funds to purchase personal care products and services for residents. Consequently, some families provide personal care products and services for their loved ones, some do not. And those residents with no family support tend to go without these basic personal care items. Mr. Speaker, the Department of Financial Assistance was given a supplementary of $911,000 that was approved by this House on October 24 to provide a monthly care allowance of $100 to all financial assistance clients who reside in rest homes and nursing homes. The monthly allowance will allow for the purchase of personal care and healthcare goods and services, such as toiletries and grooming services. Mr. Speaker, commencing in November of 2024, the department worked hard with the Ministry of Justice as an amendment was needed to the legislation, that is the Financial Assistance Regulation 2004, to add an expenditure line item for personal care allowance to the table of allowable expenses to legally facilitate the 100 personal care allowance. The amendment to the legislation was completed and gazetted in December 2024 and became effective on February 1st, 2025. Mr. Speaker, the Department of Financial Assistance has established a framework to ensure that financial assistance clients in licensed rest and nursing homes receive a monthly personal care allowance of $100. This includes direct deposit into their bank accounts for access for the client and those deemed to be carers of their clients or via their respected rest and nursing homes. Mr. Speaker, currently 240 FA clients receive the 100 personal care allowance, of which 220 clients are pensioners and 20 clients are persons with a disability. In preparation to execute the payment of the 240 clients, the financial assistance software system had to be adjusted to include a line item for the personal care allowance. Additionally, the Department of Financial Assistance had to make sure that every client had a valid bank account in the system. This has been a tedious exercise, as accuracy is important for ensuring that the right information is in the system, particularly in those instances where changes were needed to make bank accounts or new bank accounts to be added. Mr. Speaker, for those clients who will be paid their 100 personal care allowance via the rest or nursing home, the department has visited with all licensed facilities to discuss how this could be processed. An agreement was reached that a memorandum of understanding will be established stating that the $100 will be used to purchase personal care items and other items on behalf of FA clients. These logistics should be all finalized by the end of April. Mr. Speaker, I am pleased to report that the first payouts of the $100 personal care allowance to FA clients residing in licensed nursing and rest homes will occur in May of 2025. With that, Mr. Speaker, I now table for the information of the House the Financial Assistance Amendment Regulations 2024. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you. Excuse me one second. Thank you. Before I acknowledge the next statement, I'll just acknowledge in the gallery you have former Senator and former AG, Mr. Barrenchie, Phil Barrenchie, talking to the chairman this morning. Thank you. Good. No problem at all. The next statement this morning, members, is in the name of the Minister of Home Affairs. Minister, would you like to present your statement?
Yes, Mr. Speaker, thank you. Mr. Speaker, I rise today to share for the information of this House. In our recent throne speech, the Bermuda government firmly took another step forward in our mission to ease the burden of rising costs in Bermuda. For too long, Bermudians have shouldered the weight of increasing prices on food, housing, electricity, and everyday essentials. These costs have made it harder for families to make ends meet and harder for seniors to live with dignity and security in their later years. In the 2025 throne speech, the government reaffirmed its bold and people-centered vision, one that represents and responds to the everyday realities of our people and puts them first. Mr. Speaker, this vision includes supporting Bermudians at every stage of life, expanding access to affordable housing, transforming healthcare to make it more accessible and affordable, and lowering the cost of living by taking direct and coordinated action on the cost of food, energy, and essential goods. Mr. Speaker, in keeping with the commitments laid out in the 2025 throne speech, I rise today to update this honorable House on two critical initiatives aimed at addressing one of Bermuda's most pressing challenges, the cost of living. Mr. Speaker, we are all acutely aware that the rising cost of living continues to strain household budgets and impact the economic resilience of our families, our seniors, and our businesses. This government, through the newly reconstituted Ministry of Home Affairs, has been tasked with a singular and focused mission to confront these challenges head on. Today, Mr. Speaker, I am pleased to announce that the ministry will convene a cost of living summit. This summit will bring together representatives from across government, industry, labor, and the community to examine the systematic drivers of Bermuda's high cost and to chart a course towards measurable, sustainable relief for our people. Mr. Speaker, in preparation for this summit, the ministry is undertaking a twofold national engagement exercise, a public survey, and stakeholder consultations. These engagements already underway are designed to capture a wide range of insights. From the public, real-world experiences of affordability, pressures, perceptions of the government's relief efforts, and public appetite for new measures. From the private sector, detailed perspectives on supply chain constraints, cost pass-throughs, wage pressures, and incentives that might support cost reduction. These data-driven consultations will not only inform the agenda for the summit, but will also form the backbone of a comprehensive cost of living report to be tabled following the event. This report will assess the effectiveness of current initiatives, identify gaps, and provide concrete, actionable recommendations for Cabinet's consideration, including potential amendments to the Regulatory Authority Act to extend oversight powers across both regulated and unregulated markets. Mr. Speaker, let me be clear. We do not underestimate the complexity of this task, but through rigorous analysis, broad engagement, and decisive policy leadership, this government is committed to delivering results. The upcoming summit will represent both a culmination and a beginning, a culmination of listening, analysis, and preparation, and a beginning of targeted, evidence-based action. Mr. Speaker, the people of Bermuda deserve to see progress on this issue, not just promises, and they deserve transparency, urgency, and real change. The Ministry of Home Affairs is determined to deliver on that promise. We look forward to working in partnership with all stakeholders to deliver a more affordable Bermuda for all. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you. Excuse me. Thank you, Minister. Members, the next statement is also in the name of the Minister of Home Affairs. Minister?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I rise today also to share that the Ministry of Home Affairs through the Department of Energy plans to create an Energy Policy Steering Committee. The ESPC will advise the Ministry of Home Affairs on the development, implementation, and monitoring of Bermuda's key energy policies, the National Electricity Sector Policy, and the National Fuels Policy. It will also provide recommendations to the Minister for issuing directives to the regulatory authority to ensure the integrated resource plan aligns with these policies and its implementation supports Bermuda's energy goals. Additionally, the EPSC will propose strategies to reduce Bermuda's rising electricity costs and to decrease the island's dependence on fossil fuels by promoting sustainable and cost-effective energy solutions. Mr. Speaker, as honorable members will be aware, the NESP and NFP were originally developed in 2015 and 2018, respectively. Since the development, there have been many changes in Bermuda's energy landscape, most notably the establishment of Bermuda's first IRP in 2019, and the significant rise in electricity prices of almost 40% since 2021. It is therefore essential that we begin to strategize not only how to update these policies, but how to better implement Bermuda's energy goals of providing sustainable and cost-effective energy to Bermudians. However, we must also ensure, Mr. Speaker, that the ministry has adequate know-how, expertise, and resources to effectively update and implement these policies. As a result, the Department of Energy has requested the development of the ESPC, which will bring together stakeholders and experts in the industry to help inform the ministry. Mr. Speaker, the EPSC will be comprised of representatives from a range of backgrounds, ensuring that Bermuda's benefits from the collective expertise of policymakers, industry professionals, and community representatives. Government representatives will include officials from the Ministry of Home Affairs, the Department of Energy, and other key agencies responsible for land and resource management. Additionally, energy and environmental experts, including former members of the Regulatory Authority, BELCO, and the Department of Environment and Natural Resources, will contribute their insights. Mr. Speaker, the committee will also incorporate economists, policy analysts, and representatives from academia to provide critical assessments of the energy policy impacts. Private sector stakeholders, such as renewable energy firms and organizations advocating for energy affordability, will have a seat at the table. Furthermore, members of the public, environmental advocacy groups, and both local and foreign NGOs will be invited to participate, ensuring that diverse perspectives are considered in the policymaking process. When needed, the EPSC will also consult temporary subject matter experts for specific initiatives. The primary responsibilities of the EPSC will be to periodically review and update the NESP and NFP to ensure that these policies remain relevant and effective. The committee will identify policy gaps and propose new measures to support renewable energy integration, energy efficiency, and sustainable fuels. Additionally, it will evaluate policy options to address high cost of electricity with a focus on increasing affordability, promoting competition, and enhancing Bermuda's energy independence. Mr. Speaker, a key function will be also to align the IRP with Bermuda's overarching energy policies. The committee will provide recommendations to both Regulatory Authority and BELCO to guide future energy planning, ensuring that long-term sustainability, energy security, and cost reduction remain at the forefront. The committee will also monitor the implementation of the IRP, ensuring that progress aligns with Bermuda's energy policies. Should any deviations occur, the EPSC will recommend corrective actions to the minister. Mr. Speaker, in terms of deliverables, the EPSC will oversee the development of updated versions of the NESP and NFP, providing recommendations for the IRP process, including strategies for renewable energy integration and sustainable fuels. The committee will produce reports analyzing electricity costs and affordability, offering potential cost reduction measures. Periodic progress reports will be submitted to the minister and other relevant stakeholders, and public-facing documents will be published to maintain transparency and keep the public informed. The EPSC will operate adapting to evolving energy challenges and opportunities to secure Bermuda's energy future. Term limits will be established to facilitate the rotation of members while allowing for reappointments where necessary. The selection and onboarding of new members will be conducted in collaboration with the Ministry of Home Affairs, Department of Energy. The establishment of the EPSC underscores the government's commitment to ensuring that Bermuda's energy policies are proactive, data-driven, and aligned with long-term sustainability, affordability, and resilience. By integrating expert policy oversight with real-world implementation strategies, the EPSC will play a pivotal role in shaping Bermuda's clean energy future. Through this initiative, reaffirm our commitment to reducing electricity costs, enhancing energy security, and fostering a sustainable energy transition for the betterment of all Bermudians. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Minister. Members, the next statement this morning is in the name of the Minister of Tourism and Transport. Minister?
Good morning, Mr. Speaker.
Good morning.
Mr. Speaker, it is with great enthusiasm that I rise today to provide an update on the Dockyard Workshop Project, an initiative that is vital for the continued efficiency and advancement of Bermuda's Department of Marine and Port Services. This initiative is not just a matter of convenience, but a necessity for the operational integrity and future growth of the department's marine fleet. Mr. Speaker, during my visit to the Marine and Ports Workshop in Dockyard, I was pleasantly astonished by the scale and complexity of their operations. I had the pleasure of meeting a young Bermudian, Mr. Jamal Smith, the acting fleet manager during our visit, who served as our guide. I was impressed by his professionalism and deep knowledge of his field. The facility is far more extensive and intricate than I had anticipated, showcasing a highly coordinated system that ensures the smooth functioning of Bermuda's maritime services. The level of organization, technical expertise, and infrastructure in place truly reflects the dedication and efficiency required to maintain such a vital component of the island's transportation network. Mr. Speaker, the current Marine and Ports Workshop locations in Dockyard and East Broadway have long been plagued with inadequate resources and lack of space, which has hindered efficiency. The aging infrastructures, which pose health risks to staff, further underscoring the need for change. Importantly, the reorganization of the store section in the Dockyard location will ensure that Marine and Ports has the necessary parts readily available to meet International Maritime Organization codes. A critical step in maintaining industry standards, resulting in a safer and more reliable marine fleet. Mr. Speaker, I am pleased to report that the infrastructure development for this project is well underway. 3 empty buildings are being refurbished and outfitted to serve as a state-of-the-art marine workshop, complete with a larger stores area, dedicated offices for marine staff, and essential furniture and fixtures. Additionally, we are equipping the facility with modern computers, work bays, and other necessary tools to ensure optimal operational effectiveness. Also, the addition of a wharf adjacent to the workshop will facilitate the dismantling of engines and other vital vessel components, making maintenance operations more seamless and efficient. Mr. Speaker, the new location provides a modernized and spacious facility designed to enhance both functionality and efficiency. It includes designated training areas that will allow us to improve the technical knowledge of our staff in-house and emphasize the development of Bermudians through apprenticeships in various marine trades. By having a purpose-built facility designed to complement the employees' specialized overseas training, we expect to see significant cost savings while enhancing our work's skill set. The integration of STEM, which is science, technology, engineering, and mathematics, education within marine and ports will enable our staff to improve their technical proficiency in areas such as vessel maintenance, navigation, marine engineering, and port management. As technology continues to revolutionize the maritime industry, from carbon-neutral vessels to propulsion to advanced vessel maintenance protocols, it is essential that our personnel remain at the forefront of these developments. Mr. Speaker, upon completion of the dockyard workshop facility, the focus will be given to the long overdue renovation of the East Broadway workshop and ferry depot. These facilities play a crucial role in the daily operations of the Marine and Port Services, ensuring that Bermuda's ferry system remains functional and efficient. The planned renovations for the East Broadway workshop will focus on creating a well-equipped environment for maintenance of the ferry fleet. A properly designed space will allow for routine servicing, repairs, and emergency interventions, ensuring that the vessels remain in optimal condition. This will help to minimize downtime and enhance the overall longevity of our marine assets. Mr. Speaker, in addition to the upgraded Hamilton Ferry Depot, we will include improved facilities for crews that man our vessels. These hardworking individuals deserve a modern and comfortable working environment that supports their well-being and productivity. The facility will include dedicated staffing areas, ensuring that staff have secure and private spaces to prepare for their shifts. The redevelopment of the East Broadway Workshop and Ferry Depot is a necessary investment in Bermuda's maritime infrastructure. By modernizing both the dockyard and East Broadway facilities, we reaffirm our commitment to the continued advancement and sustainability of Bermuda's maritime transportation sector. Mr. Speaker, it is important to note, as part of government's mission to provide enhanced learning opportunities, we will also explore integrating such facilities into the schools to afford hands-on learning experiences for students interested in marine engineering, mechanics, and trades. Mr. Speaker, in addition to the workshop efforts, I'm also pleased on the ongoing progress regarding our marine fleet expansion. Currently, there are 2 new ferries being fabricated in Singapore, and completion is expected in October of this year. These 550 passenger ferries will significantly enhance Bermuda's maritime transportation network. With increased passenger capacity and improved operational efficiency, these ferries will support our goal of providing reliable, high-quality public transportation for residents and visitors alike on our orange, blue, and green routes. The new vessels will ease congestion during peak travel times, bolster economic activity, and ensure a more seamless commuting experience across the island. Mr. Speaker, the department remains committed to exploring innovative solutions for its fleet. As part of the fleet continues to age, it is evident that replacement options are advancing. In response to a collaborative electrification initiative has been launched, bringing together internal, external, and international stakeholders to assess the transition of a portion of the fleet to electric vessels. This initiative, along with other ongoing efforts, has not only highlighted the increasing progress of fleet modernization, but also reinforces the strong dedication to improving Bermuda's ferry service. We remain committed to building a transportation system that is safer, more sustainable, eco-friendly, and dependable for the future. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Minister. Members, the next statement this morning is in the name of the Minister of Cabinet Office.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Good morning,
morning.
members. Mr. Speaker, I rise today to inform this honorable House of the Government of Bermuda's work to create and adopt a comprehensive artificial intelligence AI policy. Mr. Speaker, as the Minister responsible for digital innovation, I am proud to lead a government initiative that is not only embracing the future, but doing so with deliberate care and responsibility. Artificial intelligence is one of the most transformative technologies of our time, and if harnessed ethically, can significantly enhance the way we deliver public services, make decisions, and engage with our community. Mr. Speaker, this policy was developed to ensure government's use of AI aligns with our core values, which are ethics, accountability, transparency, and equity. It also provides a structured framework to guide how AI is used within both internal operations and public-facing services. The policy will apply to all government employees and consultants using AI for official purposes, whether we are using AI to streamline internal workflows or improve citizen-facing services. This policy ensures we do so in a way that safeguards human rights, privacy, and public trust. Mr. Speaker, key features of the AI policy include a human-in-the-loop approach, assuring that AI decisions impacting people's rights or government services are always reviewed by a person. Strict compliance with Bermuda's PIPA and PADI legislation protecting the privacy and personal data of our residents. A strong emphasis on transparency, requiring AI systems to be explainable and auditable. Regular risk assessments and audits to ensure fairness, accuracy, and the migration of bias, and the establishment of an AI governance subcommittee under the IT Governance Committee to oversee implementation and compliance. Mr. Speaker, this policy will result in This policy is the result of meaningful collaboration between the Digital Transformation Team, the Information and Digital Technologies Unit, the PADI PIPA Unit, Crown Counsel, and the Chief Information Security Officer. Their work ensures Bermuda is not only participating in the global AI conversation, but leading with an approach that is uniquely thoughtful and community-faced. Implementation is being rolled out through a phased approach, starting with pilot projects to evaluate how best to apply these standards across government. The policy will also be reviewed periodically to ensure that it keeps pace with evolving technologies and public expectations. Mr. Speaker, as we move forward, we do so with a clear sense of purpose. AI is not a trend, it is a tool. And with this policy, we are ensuring that that tool is used wisely, fairly, and for the benefit of all Bermudians. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Minister. Members, that brings us to a close of the statements by ministers and junior ministers for this morning. We'll now move on to the next item, which is the reports of committees. There are none. That now takes us to the next item, which is the question period. And this morning, members, we have written questions as well as questions from the statements that have been presented today. So we'll start with the written questions. And the first questions this morning are from the opposition whip to the Premier and the Minister of Finance, and they require an all response. Mr. Whip, would you like to put your questions?
Thank you and good
Go right
morning,
ahead.
colleagues. Mr. Speaker, will the Honorable Premier and Minister of Finance please provide this Honorable House a list of the senators and members of the House of Assembly who are currently receiving or have received any form of remuneration separate from their parliamentary salary for any work or advisory services in the Ministry of Finance or for public service on statutory boards, committees, or quangos, or other public-funded entities coming under remit of the Minister over the period from the 1st of September 2024 to the 15th of March 2025, and the amount of the remuneration received.
Premier?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, in answer to the question, As previously known, a member of Parliament, now Minister Joshe Adams, JPMP, was engaged under the Premier, Opposition Leader, and Minister's Personal Staff Act. For the period, the remuneration received was $46,110.52. Member of Parliament Wayne Ferberts is engaged under the Premier, Opposition Leaders, and Personal Staffs Act in the Ministry of Finance on similar terms as MP Adams. He is yet to be remunerated. In regards to boards and committees regarding under the Ministry of Finance, Member of Parliament Neville Tyrrell serves as Chairman of the Government Employee Health Insurance Management Committee for the period of under question. No remuneration was paid to Mr. Tyrrell, and he's also a member of the Appeals Tribunal Contributory Pensions for the period 1st of September. For the period mentioned in the question, remuneration received was $2,000. Member of Parliament Curtis Dickinson serves as chair of the Pension Committee, and for the period asked, no remuneration was paid to Mr. Dickinson.
Sorry, members. Thank you, Premier. The next written question this morning on the paper was on the order paper was actually from MP Fay to the Deputy Premier, but that's been withdrawn now because the matter is going to be discussed later today. I understand you're satisfied with it being discussed later, right? Correct? Okay, thank you. So you'll pass that question. The next set of questions this morning, written question, was from MP King to the Minister of National Security, but they did not require an oral response. They just required a written response. Have you received a response?
Good morning, Mr. Speaker. I have not.
Minister, is a written response available?
Yes, Mr. Speaker, I thought they were sent to your offices yesterday, but I could follow up on that.
Okay, with that being said, we'll ensure part of the problem this morning. I should have mentioned it earlier. My apologies. Mr. Lamb is actually out ill this morning, and he's normally feeding everything as it happens up to the SharePoint. So there will be a delay getting things on the SharePoint, but we'll make sure the Deputy Speaker is passing your hard copy now. Okay. So members, I should highlight that too, because we may have a delay. Even the committees that were announced this morning, they didn't go up until they would have been announced, but with Mr. Lamb being absent today, they'll go up later on in the course of the day or maybe of the weekend, more likely, to be honest. Okay? All right. Thank you. That brings us to a close of the written questions for this morning. We'll now go to the questions that were generated from the statements that were presented this morning. And the first statement that has questions this morning is from in fact, yourself, Minister of National Security. The Opposition Leader and others would like to put questions to you. Opposition Leader?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Good morning to you, sir.
Good morning.
And good morning to my colleagues in the listening audience. Would the Honorable Minister be able to speak to the civil and electrical work that added an unanticipated expenses of $463,651? Specifically, why was that civil and electrical work not included in the original request for proposal?
Minister?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. If I could start off reading directly from my statement, if that's fine with you. This modernization of civil and road electrical works that were not included in the original request for proposal, since vendors could not accurately quantify these costs in advance. As a result, the current cost for civil and electrical works as a steward at that comes to that figure of $463,000.
Supplementary?
Yes, thank you. Given that the vendors could not accurately quantify but still secured the funding for this project, has anything changed in the ministry's request for proposals process to ensure that better forecasting is available in the future?
Minister?
Thank you for that, Mr. Speaker. It's not a matter of whether or not there's better forecasting available because of the nature of the project and working with so many different entities, internal and external. It was difficult for them to accurately forecast what the additional civil works was going to cost.
Thank you, Minister. Supplementary or new question?
Yes, so the going forward strategy as it relates to the ministry's RFP process is that when it is difficult to accurately forecast, they will therefore allow the vendor to be granted a contract without any kind of control.
Minister?
No, Mr. Speaker.
Okay. New question?
Yes, absolutely. What were the specific unforeseen challenges which caused the delays in rollout? Thank you.
Minister?
Some of the unforeseen challenges, Mr. Speaker, was things like trenching. It's like building anything, like building a house. There's always some unforeseen work that has to be done, be it trenching and changing of poles and rewiring stuff and the like. It was nothing untoward.
Thank you. Supplementary?
Yes, has the government or any of the vendors incurred any penalties or additional costs due to the delays?
Minister?
No.
Thank you. Supplementary?
None. Third question, please.
Third question, okay?
Has the ministry been advised of any of the legislative changes needed to for automated traffic enforcement?
Minister?
Mr. Speaker, if I may, I'll read again straight from my ministerial statement.
Go ahead.
As I said, Mr. Speaker, in the coming months, the Ministry of National Security and the Bermuda Police Service will work closely with the Ministry of Transport and the Ministry of Justice on legislative amendments necessary for implementing the ticketing system for speed cameras. This will be the final step in the implementation of a system that we are confident will improve the safety on our roads.
Thank you. Supplementary?
Yes, clarification, Mr. Speaker. The question wasn't whether legislative changes were going to be entertained. It was what, and specifically, has the ministry received any legislative changes?
Mr. Speaker, the legislative changes is that's going to be involved in getting a ticket from the speed camera to the person that's breaking the law. So it's just a matter of updating legislation and tweaking it so that when somebody goes through the license plate recognition cameras, that the ticketing process is still being analyzed and the legislation is being looked at and updated to make that a reality.
Thank you. Supplementary, or no more new questions, so your last up.
Last sub, thank you, Mr. Speaker. When does the minister anticipate those legislative changes being brought to this honorable House?
Minister?
As soon as they're complete, because we are very much on the road in trying to get the not only CCTV up and running, but the speed cameras hopefully up and running, and the legislative changes will be here soon after.
Thank you. Thank you. Minister, those are the last questions from the opposition leader. However, there are two other members who have questions for you, I believe. MP Tucker, would you like to put your questions?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'll yield my time because my questions were answered. Thank you.
Okay. MP King, would you like to put your questions?
Yes, good morning, Mr. Speaker.
Go right ahead.
The question for the Minister of National Security is this. Well, first of all, a comment. We definitely applaud the efforts to make our roads and community safer. Towards that end, understanding the amendments for the speed cameras, are there also going to be is there going to be consideration given to amendments to the law regarding sobriety checks not being gazetted to let people know who would consider drinking and driving? As part of the overall package of amendments, is that being considered as well?
Was that, I just have to ask the question, was reference to that made in the statement at all? Well, the question has to be relative to the statement, so there's no requirement for the minister to respond to that. Okay? Minister, I also looked at the deputy opposition leader had questions for you as well.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and good morning.
Morning.
Thank you to the minister for this statement this morning. Will the minister or ministry support requests for expansion of the coverage from community clubs and from neighborhoods?
Minister?
Mr. Speaker, Speak, give me a second. I'll go right back to my statements.
No problem.
Mr. Speaker, before I do that, I'd like to respond to MP King. I have no problem responding to you offline, so you can reach out to me. Mr. Speaker, as response to the Deputy Opposition Leader, straight from the ministerial statement, residents have expressed a greater sense of security knowing that CCTV coverage has been enhanced. This increased confidence has encouraged more community engagement, with citizens more willing to report suspicious activity to the Bermuda Police Service. Also, Mr. Speaker, we have even received requests from community clubs and neighborhoods to further expand CCTV coverage.
Supplementary?
Thank you. Yes, a supplementary. So will they support that increase in expansion? I know there's been requests, but will the ministry actually support an expansion based off of those requests?
Minister?
Yes, Mr. Speaker.
Okay. Further sub or new question?
Further sub.
Go ahead.
The cost of that expansion, will that be borne solely by the government, or will this be in collaboration with those sports clubs?
Minister?
Mr. Speaker, all options will be considered.
Thank you. New question? No? Okay. Thank you, Minister. That's the close of the statements for you this morning. We'll now move on to the next statement, next questions. And Minister of Health. There are members who wish to ask questions of you, and the first is from the Opposition Deputy Leader.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, in the statement from the minister, there was quite a bit about moving and getting our people to start to move more. I'm wondering if the minister will let us know whether there has been any communication, collaboration with the Ministry of Education to increase physical education classes within schools.
Minister?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and I thank the honorable member for that question. Mr. Speaker, as we've indicated in the statement, it is important for us to encourage physical activity, and those discussions with respect to myself and the Minister of Education, previous Minister of Education, will continue with the newly appointed Minister of Education, because we do appreciate the need for continued engagement, especially with respect to our young people, for them to have engagement regularly in physical activity. So those conversations will continue with the newly appointed Minister of Education.
Thank you. Supplementary or new question?
Supplementary. So in the conversation that would have happened up until point, is there any thoughts to increase the opportunity for physical education to increase movement of our young people?
Again, Mr. Speaker, is a newly appointed Minister of Education, so I will continue that dialogue with that individual, and I would anticipate that we'll be on alignment as it relates to ensuring that the students have adequate physical activity within their daily regime.
Thank you. Supplementary or new question?
New question. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Continuing on with that, would the minister be able to tell us whether there's been any communication or collaboration with the Minister of Sport to find out whether there's been interaction with national sport governing bodies to increase access for our young people to continue this movement? This is all towards supporting getting our young people moving so that we have a healthy population.
Minister?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I think that would be a question that would be morally appropriately addressed to the Minister of Sport, but the members of the public and the government would know that there is the Youth Sport Initiative Program 2027. What is it? There's a National Sport Policy 2022-27. Obviously, the minister would have responsible for youth and sport would know more than I would with respect to that, but it does speak to the national youth policy and the engagement of sporting facilities to ensure that there is more enhancement and availability through financial support so that the national sporting bodies do have the requisite funds so they can continue the engagement with the youth with respect to those particular bodies. But again, that would probably be more appropriately answered by the minister responsible for youth and sport. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, no further question? No further question from the Deputy Opposition Leader. Minister, the next question is from MP Talker. MP Talker, would you like to put your question?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Speaker. My first question relates to the ban on trans fats. So I'd like to know what plans are in place for the government to begin broad public awareness campaigns to educate people on the health risks of trans fats. Thank you.
Minister?
I thank that honorable member for her question, and the communication strategy is just commencing. In fact, when we announced it last week at the throne speech, and then again today, we reiterated it, but we are meeting with the requisite communications persons so that we can initiate those conversations. We will also be meeting with stakeholders, particularly restaurateurs, so that they can appreciate and understand the direction of travel and the importance of why we are planning on legislating the removal of trans fats, as well as our health promotions office will also be engaged in this regard so that we can continue to inform the members of the public of the importance of a healthy diet, which includes the reduction and the removal of trans fats, which, as I've indicated in my ministerial statement, have absolutely no health benefits whatsoever.
Supplementary?
Actually, yes, please, a supplementary.
Okay.
The minister mentioned that there will be some discussion with the restaurateurs and other food service providers. I am just wondering if if the minister can sort of give any insight into whether there will be any residual impacts for particularly fast food restaurants, because trans fats is found in a lot of fast foods. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you for that question to the honorable member. Again, Mr. Speaker, those engagements have just started, but fortunately, many of the restaurants have already taken the initiative to remove trans fats from their food supply, simply because this is a world trend. And as I've indicated previously in this honorable House, over 87 million people are impacted by the 48 countries that have signed up for the WHO's recommendation to remove trans fats by, I think, 2027. So a number of restaurants are doing it on their own in any event. So we're not anticipating that there will be a lot of resistance, because they recognize they too want to contribute towards a healthy society.
Thank you. Further supplementary or new question?
New question,
Go
Mr.
right ahead.
Speaker. And the question it concerns tax concessions for gyms. I would like to know what will be done to ensure that the savings from the tax concessions for the gyms will be passed on to the clients. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Premier, Minister?
That is a very good question. As it relates to the tax concessions, regrettably, there's only been a few gyms that have actually taken advantage of making application to the Minister of Finance to receive that tax concession. Insofar as ensuring that it's passed on to the consumer, I'm not quite sure how we'd be able to monitor that. However, as I've indicated, and perhaps I can use this as a plug, the gyms do have that tax concession to bring in equipment and to further develop their gyms so that we can ensure it's people that utilize those gyms accordingly. But regrettably, there's only been less than a handful of gyms that have taken advantage of it. How we would ensure that that is passed on, I think, is probably a difficult question to monitor. And one would hope that these gyms would just ensure that they do the right thing. And if they're getting a tax concession for the provision of added gym equipment and the like, that would be passed on insofar as not increasing their gym monthly membership fees. But I don't know that any government would be able to actually monitor that. We'll just hope that they would do the right thing. Thank you.
Supplementary or third question?
Just a supplementary, I guess, for my own sort of clarification. If the gyms are getting concessions on equipment and so on, and there is no sort of mechanism in place to ensure that those savings are passed on to the clients, I'm not quite sure what the objective is of actually giving the gyms the concessions. If I could get some clarity around that. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
If I may, Mr. Speaker,
Go ahead.
this is a finance question. This was something that was debated. This is along the line of capital investments to make sure that persons have modern equipment. It was not just for gyms. It was for beauty salons. It was for other things, personal care services across the board, to make sure that persons are not penalized by duty to continue to reinvest, to make sure they have modern facilities such as spas, etc. So that was the purpose of it. It wasn't around the provision of services and the cost of those particular services. It was for persons who are either building a new gym or investing in equipment, because gym equipment will run out, spa equipment will run out, personal care equipment will run out. It was to reduce the cost reinvestment on the exact same terms of which we've done for for restaurants and other items who do have to do regular types of capital investment. I hope that helps the new honorable member.
All right. Third question or your second?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. That does help. It just wasn't clear in the statement, so I do appreciate that clarification from the Premier. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. My new question, as it relates to vaping, I'd like to know also what plans the government has to have an education campaign to, again, educate the general public on the risks of vaping and tobacco use. Thank you.
Thank you for that question for that honorable member. We will continue with an education campaign. For the honorable member and other members that are listening's edification, we do have a health promotion office, and they are charged with ensuring that we get communications out as it relates to promoting public health initiatives such as this. We will be definitely working with the schools. There's already been a enhancement of a communication strategy that started a couple months ago when we noticed, regrettably, an increase in utilization of vaping within our community. So we have been engaged with a communication strategy for several months now. This legislative step obviously will assist in that regard, and we will continue to enhance communication because this is critically important, and we will do so in conjunction, with the Health Promotion Office, as well as the Ministry of Education and Youth. All of the ministries that have an impact, a relationship with children, we will be utilizing that because this is certainly something extremely important, and all communication efforts will be maintained so that we can get the word out about the harmful effects of vaping, particularly for our young children.
Thank you. Supplementary?
Yes, please, Mr. Speaker. I just wanted to get some clarity around whether the target for restricting vaping is for young people, or is it for everyone? Because there are health risks involved for everyone. I understand, particularly, there is an impact for children. But as it relates to the actual restriction, I'm just trying to understand who the target audience is. Is it the children, or I should say young people, or is it all people? Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Minister?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, the communications with respect to vaping and the utilization of tobacco and nicotine products will be for all individuals, because we recognize that, unfortunately, one of the leading causes of death in Bermuda is cancer, and some of these cancers are largely preventable by virtue of smoking and the like. However, for this particular initiative, it will be largely targeted towards our young people, because what we're seeing on the shelves is products that are vaping products, that are bubblegum flavored, chocolate flavors that adults are not normally drawn to. So the targeted campaign will be for our young individuals, because we want to prevent them and stop them from utilizing or exposing themselves to nicotine products before they get to an advanced age. But part of that communication strategy will, of course, emphasize the impact of vaping across the whole community. But this initiative, particularly as it relates to the legislation and the communication, will largely be towards the adolescents, because the tobacco industries that's what they're marketing, is adolescents. I'm not saying that adults don't vape using bubble gum, but the reality is it's marketed specifically to entice young people to utilize vaping products, and then hopefully will continue on and be addicted to nicotine. And that's the target group that we're trying to attract.
Here. Supplementary?
Yes, Mr. Speaker. I would just like to know whether there are any plans to introduce sort of stronger penalties for people who sell vaping products to minors. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Absolutely, absolutely. Part of the legislative remit will, of course, include legislation preventing this. But on the flip side of this, if commercial products are still on the shelves, notwithstanding the legislation, then we are looking for some serious penalties about this.
That was your second sub and third question. So you've had your series. Thank you. Minister MP King, would you still like to put questions to the minister? Go right ahead. Turn your mic on.
Yeah, regarding the health initiative in the public school systems and the school systems in general, is there also consideration in part of the strategy to have children assessed to determine whether or not they are obese, and having a program, a specific health and physical educational program tailored to their needs as they do in other jurisdictions. Thank you.
Minister?
Mr. Speaker, that was not actually forming part of my ministerial statement. That might be a question that may be better posed for the Ministry of Education.
And just a reminder for members, the questions on statement should be directed to the content of that statement. And unless the minister in response opens up something else, you can go down a different avenue. But the statement itself should be directed to what's on paper.
You're going to have to tell them that every week.
Would you like?
I mean, Mr. Speaker, no, Mr. Speaker, if I can help the honorable member, Section 17, Order 17-9A. If I knew the answer, I'd provide it, but that is an answer that would be better suited to be addressed by the Minister of Education.
Okay, thank you. Do you have a supplementary or additional question? Okay, thank you. Thank you, Minister. That's the end of questions for you this morning on that statement. The next statement that has questions this morning is to the Minister of Youth, Social Development, and Seniors on the question on your first statement in reference, and that one is from MP Robertson. MP Robertson, would you like to put your question?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and I would like to thank the Honorable Minister for her statement and efforts on supporting seniors and those with dementia. My question is, has the Minister considered raising the personal home care benefit granted by Future Care and HIP for personal caregiver from $15 to the $16.40 minimum wage? And this is for primarily for the unskilled carers. Thank you.
All right.
Caregivers.
Minister?
17-9.
Oops, Mike, yes.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'd like to reference the orders of 17-9A. That is not a question for my ministry, but more for the Ministry of Health. So I encourage that member to pose a question to the Minister of Health.
Member, do you have a supplementary or a second question you'd like to put? That one, the response really falls under different ministries, what they're basically saying. Okay? Thank you. No further questions for that statement. The next statement that has questions this morning is a statement from the Minister of Home Affairs. And Minister, in reference to your first statement, MP Fee would like to put a question to you.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, my first question, as you said, relates to the first statement. And in that statement, there's reference to stakeholder consultations being undertaken in preparation for the Cost of Living Summit. Could the minister identify who those stakeholders are?
Minister?
Good morning, Mr. Speaker. Yes,
Morning.
our ministry has engaged with stakeholders, specifically starting with the grocers. We've also extended the first survey, because I spoke in my statement, to a two-part engagement strategy. And so the businesses in our Bermuda ecosystem have been sent the survey via email, as well as through partner organizations like the Chamber of Commerce, the Nonprofit Alliance, as well as members of the reinsurance and insurance industry.
Okay. Supplementary?
Thank you. Yes, supplementary. When the Honorable Minister makes reference to the grocery stores, could she please be more specific as to which specific stores have been asked to participate in the stakeholder meetings?
Minister?
All grocers have received, all persons who sell goods that will be first included in the 33 essential goods per the 2020 Cost of Living Amendment Act have been engaged with. So persons who sell, grocers, business owners who sell those essential 33 goods are part of that grocery community. Thank you.
Supplementary?
No new question. Thank you, Mr.
Go
Speaker.
ahead.
The Honorable Minister has again made reference to the tabling of a cost of living report. There are no specific timelines in her statement, so could she please give some information as to the anticipated timeline to table a cost of living report? Thank you.
Minister?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. As the honorable member may also agree, it would be best for the ministry to have data to support its efforts and not bring anything prematurely to the House. And so the ministry also, as included in my report, in my statement rather, have referenced a data approach to first understand the various pillars that are impacting the cost of goods and cost in Bermuda. And so that data will inform a timeline that we will then seek to have both the report following the summit tabled in the House. Thank you.
Okay. Supplementary or new question?
Supplementary, please, Mr. Speaker.
Yeah.
Thank you for that minor clarification. Given the anticipation of obtaining data, can the Honourable Minister please share timelines and deadlines that may have been set for receipt of the data that will help form the consultative process for the cost of living tabling of the report?
Minister?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Per my statement, again, is a two-part engagement effort. The first part we are seeking to conclude in the coming weeks, which will be then followed by a public engagement survey, which will then use those insights to inform focus groups, as well as craft a framework for which the summit will take place. It is intended that it will take place before the end of the year, hopefully before. And so using that data insights and not actually prematurely prescribing a specific time is what we believe to be a measured and informative approach. Thank you.
Thank you. You have one more sub left, excuse me, or a third question?
One supplementary, please.
Supplementary to your second question, go ahead.
I'm not sure what's so difficult in just getting dates. So again, at the end of a consultative process in terms of obtaining data, there should be deadlines put in place. Are there deadlines put in place for receipt of information to get to something at the end of the year? I think the people of Bermuda deserve to know. Thank you.
Minister?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The honourable member would, I think, appreciate, for the benefit of all who live in Bermuda, that cost of living is something that is a major concern. And so it would be important for us to have a measured approach in recognizing that previous efforts have not rendered the result as intended. And so the dates would be prematurely to share. We will submit those dates and provide an update to this honorable House as appropriate. But with all surveys and with all instruments that would seek to support data, there may be further clarification that's required before the ministry is able to determine the summit and the necessary actions thereafter. So we're taking a measured approach because we want to ensure that it's done and it's done well. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
You used your two subs on that. Would you like a third question?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Thank you for the clarification from the Honourable Minister. Final question, Mr. Speaker. The Honourable Minister has made reference to the fact that the regulatory authority may end up getting involved as a final step across regulated, unregulated markets. I think just for the purposes of the public, can the Minister advise what those unregulated markets may be? Thank you.
Good morning, Mr. Speaker. The
Some people may not know that.
Sorry?
Just to address the answer.
Good morning, Mr. Speaker. The honourable member would be aware that the regulatory authority currently regulates telecommunications, broadcasting, and energy. And so any unregulated industries would include any that are not included under their current remit, so any that are not currently regulated.
Okay. Do you have a supplementary?
No, Mr. Speaker, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Minister, obviously, you have a question for this statement too, right? Is it for this one or the next one? This one?
It was in relation to dates. I think my honorable colleague has covered what the government has available.
Okay, thank you. All right, so Minister, that's the end of questions for that statement. However, your next statement, MP Fay, would you like to put your questions for the next statement as well?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, the EPSC, as contained within the Honourable Minister's statement, it says that there is quite a cross-section of individuals and stakeholders who would be part of that committee. Can the Minister advise the anticipated number of people on that committee? Thank you.
Okay. Minister?
At this time, we do not have a specific number, but the time in which we do endeavor to update this honorable House. Thank you.
Thank you. Supplementary or further question?
Further question, please, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, the statement makes reference to periodical reviews to update the various policies that will help form strategy. What does it mean by periodical reviews? Is that, again, something that we will wait for? Thank you.
Minister?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The honorable member would note that the electricity and the various environments associated, to include also the fuel industry that it also supports its advancement, has been advancing quite quickly. And so technology, as well as advancements on the global stage and other industries and other locations that have been successfully advanced, we will inform the requirement for which we need to update and have a consistent approach. We would note that the IRP in 2017 then received a white paper at the recent COP28 summit, and so therefore that in and of itself defines the timeline and how things might progress and have new findings to support new reports. Thank you.
A sub or third question?
Third question, please, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, the Honourable Minister's statement made reference to the fact that one of the key functions of the EPSC is going to be to align the integrated resource plan with Bermuda's overarching energy principles. With that in mind, can the Minister state whether or not the IRP is currently aligned with ongoing energy policies? Thank you.
Minister?
It is. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Supplementary?
No, thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Okay, thank you. Minister, that brings you close to your questions for your statement. Thank you for participation, members. The next statement that has questions this morning is the statement by the Minister for the Cabinet Office and Opposition Leader. We'd like to put a question to you. Minister?
You said minister. I think you mean me?
No. Just try to let the
Thank you.
minister know.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Minister Cabinet?
I have a question for the Honourable Minister and his statement regarding artificial intelligence policy and implementation. Would he be able to describe the needs assessed for artificial intelligence in the provision of government services?
Minister? It's you who have been trying to get attention. The question was to you.
I'm happy to ask again, Speaker. Yeah, I thank the Minister for his statement on artificial intelligence policy and implementation. Would the Honourable Minister be able to describe the needs assessed for artificial intelligence in the provision of government services?
Minister?
Thank you for that question. The simple answer is as the needs arise there, and so the purpose of the policy is to be as wide as possible and to cover as much as possible. But as I stated, there's a committee that's being put together to continuously review the policy and make the necessary adjustments. As we know, this is the type of technology that changes almost daily, and so there is always going to be the requirement to provide regular updates to this particular policy. But the initial policy is put in place, and as I stated, there are pilot programs that they're going to be utilizing this to essentially at the moment to vet the policy, and then we'll just make updates based on what happens out of those pilots.
Supplementary or second question?
Supplementary, please, Mr. Speaker.
Go ahead.
Would the policy outline whether these pilot programs are going to be integrating with government's proprietary information or systems, or will it be as is? In other words, will it be standoff and not have access to government systems?
Minister?
I would have to undertake to get an answer, a complete answer to that program, but I would assume that they would be integrating with government entities, but done in such a way that there is no revealing of any information that shouldn't be utilized in that pilot program.
Supplementary or second sub or second question?
Second question, please, Mr. Speaker. Given the phased implementation and the pilot projects or programs that have already been mentioned, what are those pilot projects that are currently being used for artificial intelligence?
Minister?
Mr. Speaker, I actually did not mention any programs within the statement, and so I would have to endeavor to take that forward. But we can speak to the land title registration that has implemented AI to speed up the processes, and so that is something that is still being worked on. I have asked about that program, and it is added some efficiencies, but there is still some work that needs to be done before it's fully rolled out.
The second question or your third question?
Thanks. Mr. Speaker, point of clarification. It's 3 subs or 2 subs?
Two subs, 3 questions.
2, thanks. Thanks.
This is a sub now, or?
It's the second sub then.
Okay. Well, is that your first sub to this?
First sub. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. What is the factors or characteristics that enable a government program or department to get access to the AI? In other words, how do they prioritize who gets access to it first?
Minister?
Mr. Speaker, once again, that is something I'll have to endeavor to get an answer to. I know they have a list of programs, as you can surely appreciate, for just over 4 weeks in the job, and I have seen the hundreds of projects that they are working on. But that is a question I did not ask. How does one get prioritized on that list?
Thank you.
Second sub?
Second sub, please. Given the heavy research and clerical support needed for members of parliament to conduct our duties and oversee large government and civil servants, will the office of the legislature be able to get access to the AI tools?
Minister?
I think the short answer to that is we want to look to roll this out as much as possible.
That's your 2 subs. Would you like to do a third question?
Yes, please, Mr. Speaker.
Right ahead.
Thank you. Given the legal, regulatory, and ethical responsibilities associated with the provision of internal government services, public services, what can the minister describe the risk management provisions that are outlined in the policy?
Minister?
Mr. Speaker, as I did state, that the chambers is part of the group that helped put the policy together, and that would be an ongoing consultation basis with them as they look to modify the policy as time goes on.
Okay. Supplementary?
Yes, Mr. Speaker. Some of the risk management tools that are used are in excess of what attorneys are normally familiar with, and include prompting, template management, and things like that. Would the Honorable Minister be able to get back to me with any of the risk management outside of the legal framework?
Minister?
Yes.
Okay.
That's it. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you. Members, that brings us to a close of questions for ministers or junior ministers or for statements or questions that have been put today. So we'll now move on to the next item on the order paper, which is the congratulatory and obituary speeches. Would any member like to participate? Deputy Speaker, you jumped pretty quickly that time. I recognize you.
Yes, very briefly, I would like to congratulate East End Primary on the Sports Day event, and I would like to, in particular, I'd like to associate the Honorable Member Kim Swan and Honorable Member Renee Ming with these remarks. As you all know, Mr. Speaker, sports always has a way, and the Honorable Diallo Rabin, Minister, has a way of bringing families together, and it makes for a very enjoyable and community event that helps to bring the community together. And so, indeed, the sporting event that took place down at the grounds of East End Primary did, in fact, have that impact. But what I would like to say, a big congratulatory remark to the young man who was overall's top athlete and the young female who was overall top athlete. And while the young man's name escapes me, and I don't want to say it incorrectly, I will say the young female was indeed Miss Axis Asairon, and she was the top athlete in her category. She is.
There's no difficulty remembering that name.
No, there is not. But I just, no, honestly, when we get a chance to go to sporting events like this, it is a good thing because it does pull communities together. And on that, that's all I wanted to highlight today, Mr. Speaker, is the great event that took place at East End Primary School.
Thank you. Thank you. Would any other member like to, opposition leader, you have your 3 minutes.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Speaker. I recently attended for the first time, an event held by the Royal Bermuda Regiment Association, which is their monthly coffee, which happens on the last Thursday of every month at Keith's Kitchen down at BAA. And I just wanted to congratulate the RBRA executive and membership who put on a very successful event every month, and for their ongoing work to support those of us who served in the Bermuda Regiment and Royal Bermuda Regiment. And I encourage members of the public who have friends and family who either served or have served themselves to get down there. There's lots of pictures kicking around, and it's a lot of familiar faces. There's a lot of legacy with that. The Royal Bermuda Regiment will be celebrating its 60th anniversary this year, and I won't get ahead of myself by offering congratulations yet, but we definitely need to remember that they are a key part of our community, especially their predecessor units, the Bermuda Militia Artillery and the Bermuda Volunteer Rifle Corps. So congratulations to the executive for another successful event. And also, just an aside to the, I want to say thanks to the Parks Department. The work that they do at one of my favorite parks, the Arboretum, is hard to, it's really appreciate what they're doing. And so I congratulate them on their ongoing work, most especially given that they have to recover the park a lot from its use. And I encourage people to go down and support them in their work, and it's a great community place. So congratulations to the Parks Department for their ongoing committed work. Thank you.
Thank you. Does any other member wish to make a contribution? Minister Weeks, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I would like to take my time to congratulate and encourage the Western Star Sports Club for launching a fundraising campaign to revitalize its playing field. For those that don't know, a 200-member team from Western Stars will run in the Bermuda Half-Day Marathon as part of the initiative. And no, I will not be running, Mr. Speaker.
You still got time to train.
Yeah.
There's still time.
Yeah, and the club is partnering with LiveNet, and the goal is to raise $100,000 toward a $250,000 needed for field restorations. This highlights, Mr. Speaker, community spirit at its finest and dedication to supporting local sports. So I congratulate the executive and all members and participants of the Western Star Sports Club for their commitment to this important cause. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Minister. Minister Darrow. Yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, this morning I'd like to congratulate all of the recipients of sports awards from the 43rd annual sports awards that was held this past Sunday evening, and I'd like to associate the Minister of Cabinet and Innovation, who was there, as well as the Premier, who was also there, and this award ceremony was held under his patronage. Mr. Speaker, the overall award winners for the sports award, as many may have known, but I want to put on record in this place, is the Female Athlete of the Year, Miss Yushe De Silva Andrade. You would recall that she went to the Paralympics last summer and finished 4th, and that was the highest placing athlete of all athletes that went over to Paris last year. And the Male Athlete of the Year, Mr. Jack Harvey. You will know Mr. Jack Harvey is also an Olympian who competed in the 2024 Summer Olympics in Paris. So congratulations to those overall winners. Also, the Male Junior Athlete of the Year, Mr. Elijah Daly. Many of you will know that he is the grandson of former Premier, the Honorable Dame Pamela Gordon Banks, as well, MP, the Deputy Speaker, would like to be associated with those. Congrats to Mr. Daly. And the Female Junior Athlete of the Year, Ms. Catherine Redden, who is a swimmer. And in her acceptance speech did give a lot of shout outs as well as Elijah Daly to the Shadow Minister of Sport for all the work that he does in his capacity of national coach for swimming. So congratulations to him. Also, I'd like to recognize a constituent of mine who is also got the Minister's Award for his cricketing exploits, and that is Mr. Derek Brangman. He got the award for cricket. Also, Mr. D'Amico Coddington got the Minister's Award for football. For female, it was Miss Tanzay Fabler and Miss Ray, Brianna Ray, who actually got the cricket for female. And if I, just to finish off, Mr. Speaker, I'd also like to congratulate the participants of the Cultural Apprenticeship Program, and also congratulate Ms. Kenny Thompson for winning the league title with Bournemouth, and Mr. Nuri Latham, who is Bermuda's under-14 goalkeeper, who has just joined Academy at Preston. And I think the Premier would like to be associated with those remarks. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you. Does any other member? MP Swan, you jumped pretty quickly in the background there.
Yes, Mr. Speaker. And thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I would like to send condolences to the Morton
Turn it
family.
away from you a bit. It's very strong right now. The new mics are very, yeah. Just away from me like that. Just away. Yeah, right.
I'd like for condolences to be sent to the Morton family on the passing of Miss Marion Morton, my St. Kitts family. And I'd like to associate MP Naval Terrell, fellow Pawn Dog, with those condolences, Mr. Speaker, particularly our sister Edith's cousin Edith Brooks, who is a constituent of mine, and the entire Morton family on that loss. And also, it may have been mentioned before, but the passing of Mr. C, Leo Custodio, from Southampton, who I've known all my life, particularly all my golfing life. A great man. I remember when he owned Custodios on Reed Street, and I was in the retail business. And to keep costs down, I'd always buy my man's trousers from Mr. C up there. It meant that I didn't have to worry about going down to customs. He always kept a very great supply of clothing wear there, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, on a happier note, I would like for recognition to be given to the Lamb family, Mr. Tom and Larry Lamb, and the Pompano family for staging yet again another great couple of events over the last couple of months, last couple of weeks really, the Pompano Ladies Pro-Am tournament and the Pompano Couples, of which brought many visitors to the island during these winter months. I'm proud to lay a claim that those events got their home in St. George's 40 years ago and stand the test of time. But it's very good to see people continue on with events that bring people to our island. And I believe the model that the Lambs used that have used since 1957 when that property was developed up there on that beautiful Whale Bay coastline continues to connect us with that great region up there in Southampton, with the region in New England in particular, where they have very strong connections, Mr. Speaker. Just one moment. I think I have 19 more seconds. 17 more seconds. And just following on from the congratulations that we want to recognize LeSean Adams and Sendane Ferbert Downs for their
Thank you, member.
sports achievements.
Thank you. Does any other member? MP Smith, Linda Smith?
Yes, Mr. Speaker. I'd like to associate myself with the condolences for Leo Manuel Custodio and his family. He passed away on the 20th. His funeral will be tomorrow. He leaves behind his wife of 75 years, Catherine. They are from Jennings Bay Road. And in addition to his shop, which I remember, but I was very young at that time and never bought anything there. And I believe it was just a men's clothing store anyhow. And I was trying to figure out when I was looking at this where it was actually located. So thank you very much for that clarity. Mr. Custodio apparently also was the founder of the Bermuda Junior Golf Association. And he did receive a reward from Queen Elizabeth II for the contributions he made to the sport of golf. So I'd like to associate myself with those condolences. Thank you very much.
Thank you. MP DeCudo, would you like to have your 3 minutes?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Speaker. I had the privilege of attending the Mount Zion Men's Day or Men's Weekend, and I want to thank them for the invite and inviting me into their space. I enjoyed their fellowship, and I have to say I learned some interesting leadership lessons, and I just want to congratulate them on a successful weekend event. I believe the Premier also managed to attend for part of that, so I'm sure he enjoyed it as well. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you. Any other comments?
No, I had a prior family engagement, Honorable Premier. Thank you.
Would any other MP like to make a contribution? MP Tucker, you have your 3 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I want to associate myself with the congratulations for the winners of the 43rd Annual Sports Awards. And in particular, I would like to congratulate our very own deputy leader, MP Ben Smith, for the contribution that he has made in terms of helping to develop the swimmers who actually achieved their awards and goals. I would also like to congratulate Tariq Lynch Wade on his flying to Bermuda on Bermuda Air. So congratulations to him. And as well as I would like to extend condolences to the family of Mrs. Joan Byron. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you. One clarification for you. The Custodians was actually on Church Street there, not Reed Street. But Minister?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I would like for this House to send condolences to the family of Kenneth Porkchop Mills. Mr. Mills stayed on Chain Gate Hill. It was unfortunate when I was canvassing him, he was in the hospital and he actually was transferred to Agape House prior to the election. I do remember having conversations with his wife, who wanted to make sure his goal was to vote before anything else happened. And I was thankful to the parliamentary registrar that did arrange to attend Agape House to allow Mr. Mills to vote prior to his unfortunate passing last week. So condolences to his wife Marlene and his children, as well as the Mills family that's far and wide throughout Bermuda. Mr. Speaker, I'd also like a letter of congratulations sent to Dr. Ravij Gunawardene, affectionately known as Raj, at the Department of Education and throughout education circles. Mr. Speaker, Raj was awarded the top performer in the UAE's Digital Educator Global Academy, which had over 11,000 educators participate worldwide. This stands out to me because, Mr. Speaker, as colleagues would know, I was on extended medical leave for a procedure that I had on December 17th. And it was December 17th, while I was being prepped, that I got the email from the UAE saying, please nominate some educators. And I quickly sent this thing off before I went into the operating room to say, please, Department of Education, Education Reform Unit, get together and get some educators, because at that point the program had actually started on December 1st, but they certainly came. They certainly sent this email to us late. And so I'm happy to say that the Department of Education and the ERU managed to get not just the 50 spots filled, but they were allocated some additional spots. So they had over 70 educators that did this. And so it was a complete shock when they found out that Raj had won a top award for getting this done. Even he was surprised when I ran into him on the street, Mr. Speaker. So definitely congratulations to Raj for this momentous occasion. Mr. Speaker, and I'm being a bit preemptive, but I would like to send congratulations to Dr. Bert McPhee, who will celebrate 79 years as a member of Alpha Phi Alpha fraternity on Sunday, Mr. Speaker. Bert, as we affectionately know him as, is 98 and he goes 99 in June this year. I know he's having some health challenges at the moment, but definitely that makes him one of the oldest members of this illustrious fraternity. And so, Mr. Speaker, congratulations to him for making it to 79 years.
Thank you. Does any other member wish to MP Deal? Check your 3 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'd like to take the opportunity today to send congratulations to several individuals in constituency 36 that have celebrated milestones this week. Indeed, it is a week of celebration. And we want to say a happy birthday to Mrs. Gloria Birch, who celebrated her 95th birthday, Miss Valita Correa, who celebrated her 80th birthday, Mr. Jeffrey Pittman, who celebrated his 80th birthday this week, to Miss Thalia Brumby, who celebrated her 70th birthday, to Jennifer Ho, John Barker, Michael Moorhan, and to the former Attorney General, the Honorable Michael Scott, who all are celebrating diamond birthday celebrations of 75 years. On a more serious note, we would like this House to extend condolences to the family of Mrs. Winifred Lynch, who recently passed at the age of 100 years. We had the opportunity to celebrate her centennial celebration in November of this past year, and we were deeply saddened to hear of her passing. So we say, if we could please send a letter of condolences to the Lynch family. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you. Minister Herbert?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I want to take the opportunity to send condolences to two constituents of mine. One, which I think was acknowledged last time we were sitting. However, I was unable to be in the House at that time, so I'd like to associate myself with the loss and condolences of Mr. Clarion Birch. And just wanting to send condolences and sympathy to the Birch family. Also wanting to give condolences to the family of Mr. Frankie Hollis, who recently passed. He is from the Harlem Heights area. The Hollis family is very well known in the. I'd like to associate MP Swan with those condolences. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I also want to associate myself with the National Sport Awards recipients, congratulating all of them, and specifically Yushay Andrade with her performance in her sports area. Big congratulations to her. I believe the last time we said as well, I'd like to be associated with the Ministers' Debate Competition winners. I had the opportunity to visit the debate pre-competitions. I didn't get to see the finals, but it was amazing to watch our young people be involved in debate and come with their positions and not be afraid and be courageous to share their points of views on various topics. And lastly, Mr. Speaker, I want to take the opportunity to just acknowledge the women who were part of the delegation to the Women's International Conference. There was a open forum opportunity where they had the opportunity to speak amongst 610 persons. Bermuda had representation from 2, and that would be Sherry Lynn Lilly as well as Dr. Crystal Clay, and they only chose 10 persons to speak to this open forum. And so I just want to congratulate those two ladies in their selection out of so many women and that Bermuda was represented on stage in the open forum. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Good. Thank you, Minister. Does any other member wish to make a contribution? MP Ming, you have your 3 minutes on the clock.
Good afternoon, Mr. Speaker.
Good afternoon.
First of all, I was associated with comments last week for Sandra Smith, and I just wanted to add my own quick remarks to that. I've known the Smith family for many years, and they would definitely be a family that I would say was part of the village for me in St. George's. And I would just like them to know that even up to today, we're beyond the funeral, but they are truly in our thoughts and our prayers. And that would be Mr. Smith, commonly known as Sabiza, Michelle, and Nicole Kaneda. Mr. Speaker, I'd also like to be, I was already associated with the remarks for East End Primary School, and I just want to give the names of those champion boys and girls: LaShawn Adams, Axis Ossaran, Zayden Fabric Downs, and Jace Anderson. And for those of you that may not have been aware, Girl House won 3rd year in a row, so great Girl House. I was on Girl House when I was there. Also like to give congratulations to the Corporation of St. George's for conducting the UNESCO World Poetry Day. I'd like to associate MP Fogo, Deputy Speaker Fogo, and also MP Swarm with those comments. Our children did a great job, Mr. Speaker. There were poetry and drama acts from East End Primary, St. George's Preparatory School, St. David's, and Francis Patton. And there was also a wonderful lady, Jean Casey, who delivered poetry as well. And UNESCO World Heritage Day is particularly celebrated in St. George's, as we are a UNESCO World Heritage designation. And the designation is celebrating 25 years this year as well. Also, a congratulatory remark to Imagine Bermuda, which is under Mr. Glenn Fabler. He had a presentation in St. George's at Richard Allen Church this week commemorating the 130th birthday of Dr. E.F. Gordon, but he also commemorated 53 years ago, Dr. Gordon was re-elected to his seat in the town of St. George's, and he spoke about the assistance that he received at that time to be re-elected in a difficult time for Bermuda. And so St. George's actually delivered in that particular thing. Also, my work colleague, Rick Manuel, who you may or may not know in this space, but today is his last day with us at Butterfield. He celebrates 33 years. He's going off to retirement, associating Minister Adams, associating MP Fay. We wish Rick all the best in his retirement.
Thank you, MP. Does any other member wish to make a contribution at this time? MP Wilmot, you
Good
have
day,
your
Mr.
3
Speaker.
minutes. Yes, sir.
I would like to regrettably give my condolences to Nina Rattery and the Rattery family on behalf of Cyrus Rattery, who passed in the last few days. Happens to be a very, very good friend of mine. I associate Mr. Honorable Member, Mr. Tyrrell.
Yes, thank you. Any other member? MP Tyrrell?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Good morning, members. Mr. Speaker, sadly, I wish to ask that condolences be sent to two constituents of mine. The first one was Mr. Joshua Knight, who I hadn't known before I started to run as a candidate in C26. And he was one of the first houses that I went to. And Mr. Knight, if anyone knows him, was a physical giant. He was tall. He had to be at least 6'7" or something like that, broad shoulders and everything. And he always appeared to intimidate me at first, but until I got to know him, I found out that he was a very gentle giant. And he had lots of friends, and I think he's certainly going to be missed amongst his peers and family as well. The other constituent of mine was Miss Sandra Williams, from Old Spice Close, just off of Spice Hill Road, who passed suddenly, really, because the last time I spoke with her was about a week or two before the last general election, and she had just come back from the gym, and we talked about the exercises that she had done at the gym, and she was encouraging me to get out and do some walking. So I have to now do that as well. But she has a wide range of friends up at Vernon Temple. My mother actually attended there, and they were friends as well. So I certainly ask for condolences to be sent to her family, particularly her daughter Bernadette, who I got to know latterly, and I wish them all the best, the family and friends. Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, MP Terrell. Anyone else? MP Lister.
Good morning, Mr. Speaker. Good morning to the listening audience. Just want to rise, Mr. Speaker, to send condolences first to the family of Miss Lillian Grant, also is a relative of ourselves. She is also known, the mother of Mr. Neville Grant, who is very well known. Just like to send condolences to the family of Mrs. Grant. Mr. Speaker, last week in the House, I did miss congrats in a bit, so I do just want to associate myself with a few of them that were given last week, Mr. Speaker, to Mr. Lionel Thomas, who had passed in the recent road traffic accident. He was actually...
You associate yourself because it was done last
Okay, yeah, I associate myself because he actually was a schoolmate of mine, and it's always said, constituent of MP Philgood, but it's always sad to see someone that's your age, someone that you knew and grew up with for many years, and a very genuine, kind-hearted person, Mr. Speaker. So it's sad that we lost a young person in Bermuda, and to his family, I'd like to extend condolences. On a lighter note, Mr. Speaker, since we took a break in December, and as I said, I missed last week's Congrats and Bits, I want to send birthday celebrations to two seniors in my constituency. They had birthdays back in January and February. Mrs. Ina Ferbert of Spicery Road and Mrs. Ellis Richardson of Warwick Lane. Miss Richardson, I believe, if I remember correctly, her 95th birthday, I believe, Mr. Speaker. And so it's great to see, 95. I'm 40. That's over double my lifetime, Mr. Speaker. And so I wish her continued birthday blessings and to see many more birthdays. Also, Mr. Speaker, I'd like to send congratulations to, I declare my interest, two of my young cousins, Tez and Tayon Showers, who last week, Tez was the champion boy for the over-10s at Port Royal, and his brother Tayon was the champion boy for the under-9s at Port Royal. So I'd like to send congratulations to them, and as they continue to do well in their academics and in sports. And I also like to associate the comments made earlier this morning, Mr. Speaker, to Ms. Kenny Thompson, representing Bermuda in the Women's National League, and her team, Bournemouth, won the Southwest Division. Associate MP Swan, and also to the comments of Mr. Nori Lathan. Even though he's young, his father, who has the same name, I went to school with and also played football with, so it's good to see that his son is following in his footsteps. And lastly, Miss Riley Khan, a constituent of mine, she also has been invited to the Benfica Academy for football. So it's good to see both male and females being recognized and representing Bermuda. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you. Any other opposition whip?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Speaker, and good morning, colleagues, once again. Would like to be associated with the remarks made by the Minister of Tourism, the Honorable Owen Darrell, on the sports awards. Mr. Speaker, you've been around for quite some time. We've even seen in this honorable house members who have shined, been leaders in the sports arena. So to see our athletes continue to set goals in this area and to make mark on the world is a phenomenal thing with such a small population that we do have. And what I would like to say is congratulate those who coach all of these people actually in this arena. It is a sacrifice, quite frankly, to take on other families' kids, to coach them and to steer them in the right direction. And in particular, I can recall back when swimming first started as a competition. It was in the 70s, Mr. Speaker, and I was just getting ready to get out of primary school at that time, down at St. George's Prep, and we came in the first meet, and we beat up on all the schools at that time, and especially East End couldn't even be found, quite frankly. But we won that first meet, Mr. Speaker, and I will say, I'll take some accolades. I was the captain of that swimming team, the cricket team, the football team as well. But what I would like to say is, what I would like to say, they're taking up my time, Mr. Speaker. Yeah, I would like to say there's another individual that's in this room, like the Horton, and that has sacrificed time in coaching, and that is the Honorable Member, Shadow Minister Ben Smith, who not only sacrifices his time for this House, but also in swimming. And swimming has become a real thing in Bermuda, and we've been producing some serious athletes in this arena. And I just want to point out that we have an honorable member here in the House that has done a fantastic job with folks in the swimming arena, and I would encourage more people to get involved in this particular sport. Congratulations to Coach Smith.
Any other member wish to make a contribution at this time? Premier?
I was looking to close. I didn't think I was going to get there, Mr. Speaker. I'm surprised. We were only out for a week. Mr. Speaker, I would like to be associated with the condolences that were offered by the Honorable Member for Constitution Number 2 to the family of Marion Elizabeth Morton. Of course, you know, I do have some Mortons inside of my constituent, absolutely, my constituency, and I want to be associated with those. I'd also like to be associated with the condolences that were given by the Honorable Member for Constitution Number 36, Reverend Dr. Emily Gail Dill, on to the family of the late Miss Lynch. And I would also like to be associated with the congratulations which were given initially by the member, for the Deputy Speaker, but then from Constitution Number 1, just to my great nephew, LaShawn Adams. I just want to throw that in there. Mr. Speaker, I would also ask that this Honorable House do send condolences to the family of the late Patricia Maud Edwards, who recently passed in her 85th year. Ms. Edwards was beloved wife, the late Maurice Edwards, OBE, former Commissioner of Police. She was a devoted mother to Judith Ann Bascom and Robert Edwards, a cherished grandmother to Linnell, Lonnie, Jason, Amani, and Robert. And I did happen on my way back last evening to see one of her grandsons, Lonnie, who is a constituent of mine, and reminded me of her passing, notified me of her passing, not reminded me. And I did say that I would make sure that I extend condolences to he and his family. Oh, it's on your list? I got you, because I know that's a Somerset family. I understand, Mr. Speaker. Finally, with my last minute, I would like to now associate myself with congratulations that have been given to Nuri Hunter Latham. Now, no one who knows Nuri calls him Nuri. Everyone knows him as close to him calls him Hunty. But the thing is, Mr. Speaker, is that this young man has done incredible work. Just as a note, the reason why Devonshire Colts were the champion of Kappas last year was an amazing goalkeeper performance by my son, but it just so happened that he was coached by Hunty Latham in that performance. Hunty has gone above and beyond. He has demonstrated significant progression, but what is most important is his dedication, Mr. Speaker. We are talking about someone who will wake up in the morning when he was living in Bermuda, before going to school, will go out, will go train, will go to school, will come back, will go train, continue to do the work. And it proves that hard work pays off. So his family is elated, his village, as he calls them, all of his uncles, all of us, we are elated for his work, his progress, and we look forward to his future, and I would like the Honorable House to send a letter of congratulations to what I predict will be Bermuda's next premiership footballer.
Thank you, Premier. Does any other member? No other member? Before we move on, I'd just like to add a couple of remarks. And Premier, I'll start where you were just now in reference to condolences being sent to the family of the late Mrs. Edwards, Pat Edwards. But it takes me back to last Friday when we were in the House. We gave condolences to Joe Bailey on the passing of his wife. This is actually his sister. And it's his second sister that he's lost in recent times while this House was out. His first sister is what I in fact knew is Aunt Edna, who passed in January. And now, in the short period, they has lost a second sister. So our condolences go to the entire Bailey family on the loss of both sisters. I move on to the condolences I expressed to Ms. Lynch. I've known the Lynch family and the sons for many, many years, from my childhood years. And she celebrated, yes, her 100th birthday, and I did get to see her during my canvassing in this election. So condolences go to the family. I'd like to recognize the passing also of Mr. Derek Allboy. Mr. Allboy was one of those I've known from the church community for many years, and he's always been very dedicated man to his church, his family. He was very involved with the Pathfinders in the Adventist Church for many years, and his lossing is surely a sad occasion for all who knew him, including his church and personal family. So my condolences to his wife and both his children. Also, condolences to Ms. Grace Christopher, constituent of mine who passed during the absence of us being in this place. I'd like to extend condolences to her family on their sad loss. And my final condolence goes out to the family of Mr. Clarence Smith. Most of you know the name of Clarence Smith, know that he was heavily involved in sport in the White Hill area, being involved with White Hill Field, White Hill Club itself, but not only just in the club from that area, but the running sporting community. And his loss will surely be felt in those different spaces where he had been a leading figure in the sporting world. Many would know his son, who was Kevin Smith, who was a marathon champion. This is his father, who, just as Kevin was a champion in his era, his father was a champion in making sure that sports were available for many of the young people in Somerset and he used in the West End, and he used that sporting to be able to develop and keep our young people in some very positive atmospheres. So his loss is not only just one to his family, but definitely to his community. And you all know that myself, listed agency, we sponsor the 24th of May Junior Classic race that takes place for the last 2 miles of the race. Well, Mr. Smith was the sporting side of the entity that runs that race, along with myself and my family. Mr. Smith was that one who brought the children together who participated in that and reached out to all the sporting clubs to make sure we annually had participants in that race. So his loss will be a major effect to us this year as we host the sporting event again on this year's 24th of May celebrations as well. So those remarks, thank you members for your comments during this period. And we will now move on. The next item on the order paper is that of the matters of privilege. There are none. Matters of personal explanations. There are none. Notice of motions for the adjournment of the House on matters of urgent public importance. There are none. Introduction of bills. There are none. The notice of motions. We have a motion that's going to be introduced this morning, 2 motions actually, and the first is in the name of the Premier. Premier, would you like to introduce your motion?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I hereby do give notice that I propose to move the following motion at the next meeting, that this Honorable House take note of the report of the Commission of Inquiry into Historic Land Losses in Bermuda laid for the information of the Honorable House on the 10th of December, 2021.
Thank you, Premier. The next motion rather is related by MP Lawrence Scott.
I have another motion.
Oh, yes,
Mr.
sir.
Speaker.
Yeah, second. That's right.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I hereby give notice that I propose to move the following motion, which I'll ask for suspension of the rules later in the parliamentary session. Today's sitting, Mr. Speaker, whereas is provided by Section 3 of the Ministers and Members of the Legislature Salary and Pensions Act 1975, the Principal Act that Schedule 2 to the Principal Act be amended from time to time by resolution passed by both the Senate and the House of Assembly, and whereas it's expedient for Schedule 2 of the Principal Act be now amended, be it resolved that the Honorable House of Assembly and the Senate, pursuant to the provisions of Section 3 of the Ministers and Members of the Legislature Salaries and Pensions Act 1975, hereby amend Schedule 2 to the said act by inserting immediately below the Office of Premier, the Office of Deputy Premier and Attorney General, and deleting the Office of Parliamentary Secretaries and substituting the Office of Junior Ministers.
Thank you. The final motion this morning to be introduced is that by the Honorable Member Lawrence Scott, but I believe the whip is going to present it for him.
That is correct, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, on behalf of MP Lawrence Scott, I hereby give notice that at the next day of meeting, I will move that the following resolution be approved. Whereas the government had previously established a joint select committee of both houses to inquire into and make recommendations arising from September's cyber attack prior to the dissolution of the legislature in January. And whereas the government now deserves to establish a new joint select committee to resume the inquiry into the September 2023 cyber attack. Be it resolved pursuant to the provisions of Part 4 of the Parliamentary Act 1957 that this Honorable House approves the establishment of a parliamentary joint select committee to examine and review matters surrounding the cyber attack on government IT systems in September 2023 and to report to this House its findings and recommendations in due course. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, MP Terrell. Members, I'm looking at the time on the clock. Premier? Yes. We would end this morning on that note, and when we come back, we'll be starting with the orders of the day. Premier.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I move the Honorable House to now adjourn until 2 p.m.
Any objections? There don't appear to be any objections. The House will now stand adjourned until 2 p.m.